Princess Zarathiel stood at the tall window of her palace room, watching the 12th Suitors ship leave the planet. Like all the others, this one carried away a prince who had been rushed to the medical center. The Morphin noble had tried to lie about loving her while thinking only of the power her blood would bring his people. The moment those false thoughts touched her mind, he had screamed and collapsed. Her curse had struck again. The princess touched the glass with her pale blue hand. In the reflection, she saw a young woman with silver hair and eyes that glowed softly in the dark. She was beautiful by any standard in the galaxy, but that beauty came with a terrible price. Anyone who tried to deceive her, manipulate her, or think dishonest thoughts near her would feel crushing pain in their mind. It was called the Curse of Empathic Resonance, and it made her the loneliest person in 3 galactic sectors. Yet she was also the most wanted. Princess Zarathiel could do something no other being in the known galaxy could do. She could create and control quantum field harmonics with just her thoughts. This rare gift meant that any children she had would likely inherit incredible powers. Every royal family, every government, every military leader wanted to claim her for their bloodline. Her father, Emperor Valdrix, had given her 1 solar cycle to choose a husband. If she did not pick someone by then, the Galactic Council would choose for her. The deadline was only 30 days away. "Your Highness," came a voice from behind her. Zarathiel turned to see her personal guard, Captain Daisies, a stern woman with green skin and 4 arms. "Your father requests your presence in the throne room." Zarathiel nodded and followed the captain through the long halls of the palace. The walls were covered with pictures of her ancestors, all of whom had married for political reasons. None of them looked happy in their wedding portraits. The throne room was huge, with a ceiling that seemed to touch the clouds. Her father sat on a throne made of crystallized starlight, his crown floating above his head in a field of energy. Around him stood advisors from different alien species, all looking worried. "Daughter," Emperor Valdrix said in his deep voice, "we have a problem." Zarathiel walked to the center of the room and bowed slightly. "I know, father. Another suitor has failed." "Not just failed," said Advisor Krell, a tall being with tentacles for arms. "Prince Morphus is still unconscious. His doctors say his mind may be permanently damaged." "The other royal families are starting to talk," added Advisor Wyses, whose body looked like living metal. "They say you are cursed, that no one can marry you safely." Emperor Valdrix leaned forward. "Some are even suggesting we should cancel the marriage requirement altogether. But the military alliances we need depend on these royal marriages. Without them, our enemies will destroy us." Zarathiel felt a familiar weight in her chest. Everything was always about politics, about power, about what she could do for others. Never about what she wanted or needed. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "the curse is protecting me from people who do not truly care about me." "Caring is a luxury we cannot afford," her father replied. "You are not just my daughter. You are the key to our empire's survival." Advisor Krell rustled his tentacles. "There is another matter, Your Highness. Tomorrow, representatives from Earth will arrive. It is humanity's first official visit to our court." Emperor Valdrix waved a hand dismissively. "A minor species. Weak technology, simple minds, no useful alliances. We meet them only because galactic law requires it." "Will any of them be eligible?" asked Advisor YSS. The Emperor laughed, a sound like thunder. "Humans? They barely have space travel. What could they possibly offer us?" Zarathiel said nothing, but something stirred in her heart. A small hope that maybe, just maybe, someone different was coming. Someone who would not see her as a prize to be won or a weapon to be claimed. That night, she walked through the palace gardens under the light of 3 moons. The flowers here came from dozens of different worlds, all beautiful, all transplanted from their homes to serve as decorations. She wondered if they missed their native soil. Her personal servant, Mira, found her sitting by the fountain in the center of the garden. Mira was the only person who could stay near Zarathiel for long periods without pain, because the young servant's thoughts were always simple and honest. "Your Highness," Mira said softly, "you look sad." "I am always sad, Mira," Zarathiel replied. "How can I not be? Every person who approaches me wants something. My power, my position, my father's wealth. No one has ever just wanted to know me." Myra sat beside her on the stone bench. "What about the humans coming tomorrow? What about them?" "Well," Myra said thoughtfully, "everyone says they are weak and simple. Maybe that means they do not think about power and politics all the time like the others." Zarathiel looked at her servant with surprise. Sometimes the most obvious truths came from the most unexpected places. "Perhaps you are right," she said. "Perhaps someone who wants nothing has nothing to hide." The next morning, Zarathiel prepared for the human delegation's arrival. She wore her formal robes, the ones that made her quantum powers visible as soft light dancing around her body. As she walked to the reception hall, she tried to imagine what these humans would be like. All her life, she had met beings who were stronger or more advanced than others. The Zephyrians could read minds. The Kragans could tear apart metal with their bare hands. The cybernetics could calculate the movement of stars. Each species brought some great ability to impress her. What could humans possibly bring that would be different? As she entered the hall and saw her father already seated on his throne, surrounded by the usual advisors and nobles from a dozen worlds, Zarathiel realized she was about to find out. For the first time in months, she felt curious instead of just tired. Maybe, just maybe, these simple humans would surprise everyone. Captain Marcus Chun straightened his dress uniform one last time before walking into the most important meeting of his life. The Voldorian Palace was unlike anything he had ever seen. Crystal spires reached toward the sky, and the walls seemed to glow with their own inner light. Everything was designed to make visitors feel small and unimportant. Marcus was not here as a suitor. He was here because someone had to represent Earth at this first contact meeting, and somehow the job had fallen to him. A former soldier turned diplomat. He had spent the last 10 years learning alien languages and customs after humanity discovered they were not alone in the universe. Behind him walked Ambassador Sarah Kim and Dr. James Mitchell, the other two members of Earth's delegation. They had spent months traveling to reach this distant world, and they all knew how important this meeting was for humanity's future. "Remember," Ambassador Kim whispered as they approached the throne room doors, "we are here to observe and learn. We have nothing these people want, so we must be respectful and humble." Marcus nodded, though something about that statement bothered him. He had read the files about Princess Zarathiel and her supposed curse. To him, it sounded less like a curse and more like a defense mechanism. But he kept that thought to himself. The doors opened, and they walked into a room that took Marcus's breath away. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadows, and beings from a dozen different worlds stood around the edges. At the far end, on a throne that seemed to be made of captured starlight, sat Emperor Valdrix. But Marcus's attention was immediately drawn to the young woman standing beside the throne. Princess Zarathiel was beautiful, but not in the way he had expected. Her beauty was not the cold, perfect kind he had seen in the official portraits. There was something real about her, something human in her sadness that touched him deeply. "Approach," commanded the Emperor in a voice that echoed through the hall. The three humans walked forward, their footsteps seeming very loud in the silence. When they reached the appropriate distance, they bowed as they had been taught. "Your Majesty," Ambassador Kim said, carefully practiced Voldorian, "we are honored to represent the people of Earth at your court." Emperor Valdrix looked down at them with obvious boredom. Yes, humans. We have heard about your species. Young, primitive, but energetic. Tell us, what do you offer the galactic community? Dr. Mitchell stepped forward. We offer friendship, Your Majesty. We are eager to learn and to contribute what we can. Several of the alien nobles laughed at this. A tall being with blue skin spoke up. Friendship? What use is that? Can your friendship power our ships? Can it win all wars? Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but he remained silent. This was not his moment to speak. We also offer our knowledge of Earth biology and culture, Ambassador Kin continued. And we hope to learn from your advanced civilizations. How refreshingly honest, said a voice like honey and poison. The speaker was Prince Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire, a pale humanoid with large black eyes. Most species try to impress us with claims of great power or resources. You simply admit you have nothing we want. Marcus saw Princess Zarathiel flinch slightly at the prince's cruel tone. Something in her expression reminded him of his late wife Sarah during her darkest days fighting cancer. That same look of someone trying to be strong while carrying too much pain. Perhaps, Prince Veltar continued, this is why your species would make good servants. You already know your place. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow, but before he could react, he saw what the alien prince's cruelty was doing to Princess Zarathiel. Her face had gone even paler, and her hands were shaking slightly. Without thinking about protocol or consequences, Marcus stepped forward slightly and looked directly at the princess. When their eyes met, he did something completely unexpected in this formal, hostile environment. He smiled. Not a political smile, not a diplomatic expression, but a genuine, warm, encouraging smile. The kind of smile that said, I see you, and you are not alone. Then he gave her the smallest nod. A gesture that somehow conveyed, you are stronger than they know. For a moment, Princess Zarathiel stared at him in shock. Then something amazing happened. For the first time since the humans had entered the room, she smiled back. It was just a tiny lifting of the corners of her mouth, but it transformed her entire face. Interesting, she said, her voice soft but clear. The human shows kindness to someone he has just met, expecting nothing in return. This is unusual behavior. Prince Veltar's eyes narrowed. Your Highness, surely you do not find these primitives worthy of your attention. On the contrary, Princess Zarathiel replied, and Marcus noticed that she seemed more confident now. I find their honesty refreshing. When was the last time someone entered this court without hidden agenda? Emperor Valdrix looked back and forth between his daughter and the humans with growing interest. You speak truly, daughter. These humans do seem different. Marcus found himself speaking before he realized it. Your Highness, he said, addressing the princess directly. My grandmother always said that the most beautiful thing about a person is their courage to keep hoping. Even when hope seems lost. The entire court went silent. Several aliens gasped at his boldness in speaking directly to the princess without permission. But Princess Zarathiel's eyes went wide, and Marcus realized something incredible was happening. She was not in pain. Every other being who had tried to approach her with personal comments had triggered her empathic curse. But Marcus felt nothing but genuine concern for her happiness, with no hidden agenda whatsoever. And somehow she could sense that. Your grandmother, the princess said slowly, sounds like a wise woman. She was, Marcus replied. She would have liked you, I think. She always said you could judge a person's true strength by how gently they treat others when they have the power to be cruel. Prince Veltar stepped forward angrily. Your Majesty, this human dares to speak to the princess as if they are equals. No, Princess Zarathiel said firmly, and her quantum powers made the air around her shimmer slightly. He speaks to me as if I am a person. There's a difference. Emperor Valdrix raised a hand for silence. The humans will be our guests for 1 week, as is customary for first contact protocols. Princess Zarathiel, you will oversee their accommodations personally. Several nobles started to object, but the Emperor's look silenced them. As the formal ceremony continued, Marcus found himself stealing glances at the princess. She was doing the same, and each time their eyes met, she seemed a little less sad and a little more alive. Later, as the humans were being escorted to their quarters, Ambassador Kim pulled Marcus aside. "What were you thinking?" she demanded. "You could have caused a diplomatic incident." Marcus looked back toward the throne room, where he could still see the princess speaking with her father. "I was thinking," he said quietly, "that sometimes the most important diplomacy happens when you stop thinking about politics and just see another person who needs kindness." Dr. Mitchell joined them. "Did you see what happened? When you spoke to her directly, she did not react with pain like she does with the others." Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe that is because I was not trying to get anything from her. I just saw someone who looked lonely and wanted her to know that someone cared." As they walked to their rooms, Marcus wondered if he had just changed the course of history, not through any grand gesture or political masterwork, but simply by treating another person with genuine kindness. In the distance, he could hear the soft sound of the princess's laughter for the first time in months. 3 days had passed since the humans arrived, and Princess Zarathiel found herself thinking about Captain Marcus Chun more than she should. She had sent a message asking for a private meeting, something she never did with visitors. Now she waited in the smaller garden behind the palace, a place where she often went to think. Marcus arrived exactly on time, carrying a small bag. He bowed respectfully when he saw her, but his smile was the same warm one he had given her in the throne room. "Your Highness, thank you for inviting me to speak with you." "Please," she said, gesturing to a stone bench beside a fountain. "Just call me Zara. I spend too much time being a princess and not enough time being a person." Marcus looked surprised, but sat down beside her. "Then please call me Marcus. I was wondering why you wanted to see me. I hope I did not cause trouble the other day." Zara studied his face carefully. With her empathic abilities, she could sense his emotions, and what she found amazed her. He was genuinely curious about her as a person. He was not thinking about her power, her position, or what she could do for his people. He simply wanted to understand her better. "Marcus," she said slowly, "you are the first person in years who has spoken to me without causing me pain. I want to understand why." Marcus was quiet for a moment, looking at the alien flowers around them. "Can I ask you something? This curse of yours, what exactly does it do?" "It is not really a curse," Zara explained. "My people call it that because they do not understand it. When someone near me thinks dishonest thoughts, especially about me, their mind experiences terrible pain. The stronger their deception, the worse the pain becomes." "And you feel this too?" "I feel their emotions, yes. Their greed, their lies, their plans to use me." She touched the water in the fountain with one finger. "Sometimes I think I know what every person wants from me before they even speak." Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "That sounds incredibly lonely." Zara looked at him in surprise. Most people focused on how terrible her curse was for the people around her. Marcus was the first to think about how it affected her. "It is," she admitted. "But you are different. When I reach out with my abilities toward you, I feel nothing threatening. Why?" Marcus was silent for so long that Zara began to worry she had offended him. Finally, he opened the bag he had brought and pulled out a small photograph. "This is my wife, Sarah," he said softly, showing her the picture. "She died 3 years ago." In the photograph, Zara saw a human woman with brown hair and kind eyes, smiling at whoever was taking the picture. "She was beautiful," Zara said gently. She was everything to me, Marcus replied. When the doctors told us she was dying, I promised her I would never forget that love is not about what you can get from someone. It is about what you can give freely, without expecting anything back. Zara felt tears forming in her eyes. You still love her. I always will. So when I look at you, I do not see a princess with valuable powers. I do not see a political alliance or a way to help my people. I just see a young woman who deserves to be happy, and I want that for you the same way I wanted it for Sarah. The honesty in his voice was overwhelming. Zara had never met anyone who could speak about such deep feelings so simply and openly. Your people, she said. Do they all think like this? Marcus laughed, and the sound was warm and real. Humans? We are all different, just like any species. But yes, many of us believe that caring for others without wanting anything in return is one of the best things about being alive. Tell me more about humans, Zara said eagerly. The reports I have read make you sound boring and weak. Well, Marcus said with a grin, we probably are weak compared to most galactic species. We cannot rid minds like the Zephyrians or shapeshift like the Morphans. But we have other things. He pulled out a small device from his bag and touched it. Suddenly, the air filled with something Zara had never heard before, music. But not the formal, mathematical music of her people. This was wild and emotional, with instruments she could not identify and a rhythm that made her heart beat faster. This is called jazz, Marcus explained. We created it by mixing different musical traditions together. It sounds chaotic, but there is beauty in the chaos. Zara closed her eyes and listened. The music seemed to tell a story without words, full of joy and sadness and hope all mixed together. Your people created this? She asked in wonder. Music, art, poetry, stories, Marcus said. We create things just because they are beautiful, not because they have any practical purpose. We have artists who spend their whole lives painting pictures that will never make them rich. We have poets who write about love and loss and dreams. But why? If it serves no purpose? Marcus looked at her with gentle surprise. Zara, beauty is the purpose. Art exists to remind us what makes life worth living. Over the next hour, Marcus shared more human concepts that seemed impossible to Zara. He told her about people who adopted children, who were not their own blood. About individuals who dedicated their lives to helping others with no reward. About the human idea that every person had value simply because they existed. On Earth, he said, we have a saying, home is not a place, it is a feeling. It means that you belong wherever you are loved for who you are, not what you can do. Zara felt something breaking open in her chest. I have never had that feeling. You could, Marcus said gently. Everyone deserves to have that feeling. As the conversation continued, Zara found herself sharing things she had never told anyone. She spoke about her dreams of exploring the galaxy as a scientist instead of a princess. About wanting to discover new worlds and meet new species as a friend, not a political representative. About the loneliness of knowing that everyone around her had an agenda. Marcus listened without judgment, asking questions that showed he was really hearing her. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Have you ever considered that maybe your curse exists to protect you until you find someone who does not need to be cursed? He asked Dot before Zara could answer. They were interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. Prince Veltar appeared with two other alien nobles, all of them looking angry. So, the Zephyrian prince said coldly, the human thinks he can court our princess without consequence. Marcus stood up calmly. I am not courting anyone. I am simply having a conversation with a friend. Prince Veltar laughed harshly. Friend? You dare claim friendship with royalty? Your entire species is barely above animals. Zara started to stand, her powers beginning to shimmer around her in anger. Marcus gently touched her arm. "It is all right," he said quietly to her. Then he looked at Prince Voltar. "You are probably right. Humans are simple compared to your people. We do not have great psychic powers or advanced technology. But we do have one thing that seems to be rare in the galaxy." "And what is that, Primitive?" Marcus smiled, the same kind, genuine smile he had first given Zara. "We know the difference between strength and power. And we know that the strongest thing any person can do is choose to be kind when they could choose to be cruel." Prince Veltar's eyes flashed with rage, and he stepped forward, threateningly. But before he could speak, Zara stood up, her quantum powers filling the air with dancing light. "The human speaks wisdom, Prince Veltar. Perhaps you should listen instead of proving his point about cruelty." As the alien nobles retreated, muttering threats and insults, Zara realized something had changed inside her. For the first time in her life, someone had defended her not because they wanted something from her, but simply because they cared about her happiness. And for the first time in her life, she had found someone she wanted to protect in return. The marriage deadline was only 5 days away, and Zarathiel could feel the walls of the palace closing in around her. That morning, her father had summoned her to his private office, where several Galactic Council members waited with grim expressions. "Daughter," Emperor Valdric said without looking up from his desk, "the Council has made their decision. If you do not choose a husband by the deadline, you will be wed to Prince Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire." Zarathiel felt her heart stop. "Father, please. He is cruel and dishonest. My curse will make both our lives miserable." "Your curse is exactly why we need this marriage," said Counselor Threx, a massive being covered in metallic scales. "The Zephyrian Empire has developed technology to block empathic abilities. Prince Veltar will be protected from your friendition." "Protected?" Zarathiel whispered. "You mean he will be free to lie to me and manipulate me without consequences?" "You will do your duty," her father said firmly. "Our empire needs the military alliance with the Zephyrians. Your personal feelings are not important." That evening, Zarathiel sat in her room, staring out at the stars. She had always dreamed of traveling among them freely, not as a princess trapped in political marriages, but as an explorer discovering new worlds and meeting new people. Now, that dream felt further away than the most distant galaxy. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," she called, expecting to see Myra with her evening meal. Instead, Marcus Chen stepped into the room. He looked worried, and Zarathiel realized her emotional distress was probably affecting her quantum field harmonics in a way he could sense. "Zara," he said gently, "I heard about the Council's decision. Are you all right?" She almost laughed at the question. "All right? Marcus, in 5 days, I will be married to a man who sees me as a prize to be claimed. He will drug me or use technology to block my empathic abilities so he can lie to me every day for the rest of my life. Do I seem all right?" Marcus sat in the chair across from her, his face full of concern. "There has to be another way." "There is no other way," Zarathiel said bitterly. "I am trapped by my own power. Every species wants to claim me for their bloodline. And my father needs the political alliances my marriage will create." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, and Zarathiel could sense him thinking deeply about something. "What if you were not here when the deadline arrived?" he asked quietly. Zarathiel looked at him in shock. "You mean escape?" "I mean choose your own path. You told me you dreamed of exploring the galaxy. What if you could do that instead of being forced into marriage?" Zarathiel felt a wild hope rising in her chest, followed immediately by crushing reality. "It is impossible. My father has guards watching me constantly. Even if I could escape the palace, where would I go? Every world in the known galaxy would return me to claim the reward he would offer. Marcus leaned forward. Not every world. There are unexplored regions of space, places where no government has authority. You could start a new life there. Alone? Zarathiel shook her head. I have lived in this palace my entire life. I know nothing about survival in the real galaxy. You would not be alone, Marcus said quietly. Something in his tone made Zarathiel look at him more carefully. What do you mean? I mean, I would help you. I would come with you, if you wanted. Zarathiel stared at him in complete shock. Marcus, you cannot be serious. You would abandon your diplomatic mission? Your career? Your entire future? Yes, the simple certainty in that one word hit her like a physical force. Using her empathic abilities, she reached out to sense his emotions, expecting to find hidden motives or secret plans. Instead, she found something that took her breath away. Marcus was completely serious. He was willing to give up everything: his position, his species' future relationship with the galactic community, his chance to return to Earth, just to help her find freedom and happiness. Why? She whispered. Why would you sacrifice so much for someone you barely know? Marcus smiled sadly. Because someone I loved very much taught me that the only way to truly honor the people we have lost is to protect the happiness of the people we can still save. You deserve to choose your own life, Zara. Everyone deserves that. As he spoke, something incredible began to happen. Zarathiel's quantum field harmonics, which had always been under her conscious control, began responding to something deeper. They reached out toward Marcus without her permission, drawn to the pure selflessness of his intentions. Marcus gasped as the energy touched him. What? What is happening? I do not know, Zarathiel said, but she was lying. She did know, because she could feel it happening. Her quantum powers were creating a bond with Marcus's mind, something that had never occurred before. Her empathic abilities were not just reading his emotions, they were connecting with them, amplifying them, sharing them. Suddenly Marcus could sense what she was feeling: the loneliness, the fear, the desperate hope for freedom. And she could feel his emotions in return, his genuine care for her happiness, his protective instincts, his willingness to sacrifice everything for someone else's well-being. This is impossible, she breathed. My powers have never done anything like this before. Marcus was staring at his hands, which were now glowing faintly with the same quantum energy that surrounded her. I can feel everything. Your fear, your hope, your strength. And you can feel that you truly mean what you say, Zarathiel finished. You really would give up your entire future to help me escape. They sat in stunned silence for several minutes, adjusting to the new connection between their minds. It was not like the telepathy of the Zephyrians, which forced thoughts into others' heads. This was a willing sharing, a mutual opening of their hearts. Marcus, Zarathiel said finally, if we do this, if we run away together, we will be fugitives. Every government in the galaxy will be hunting us. And my father will never forgive you. He will make sure Earth suffers for your betrayal. Marcus nodded seriously. I know. Ambassador Kim and Dr. Mitchell will have to handle the diplomatic consequences without me. Humanity's first contact with the galactic community might be ruined because of my choice. And you are still willing to do this? Marcus stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Zara, my wife spent her last months trapped in a hospital bed, unable to control her own fate. I watched her die knowing there was nothing I could do to save her. Now I have a chance to help someone else escape a different kind of prison. How could I not take that chance? Zarathiel joined him at the window, and when their hands accidentally touched, their quantum bond pulsed with shared determination. There is a cargo ship leaving tomorrow night, she said quietly. It goes to the frontier worlds, places where there are no royal courts or political alliances. If we could get aboard... Marcus turned to look at her. Are you sure about this? Once we leave, there will be no going back. Zarathiel thought about Prince Veltar, about a life of forced marriage and political duty, about never seeing the galaxy except as a prisoner in golden chains. Then she looked at Marcus, this human who asked for nothing but was willing to give everything. Yes, she said firmly. I am sure. As they began planning their escape, neither of them noticed that their quantum bond was growing stronger, or that it was beginning to change them both in ways they could not yet understand. Outside the palace, alien warships moved into position, preparing for what their commanders expected to be a simple political wedding. They had no idea they were about to discover what happened when humanity's greatest strength, the willingness to sacrifice for others, met powers beyond anything they had ever imagined. The escape plan had fallen apart within hours. Zarathiel and Marcus stood in the palace's main communication center, surrounded by guards, while Emperor Valdrix paced angrily in front of them. The quantum bond between them pulsed with shared anxiety and determination. Did you really think you could steal a cargo ship without being detected? The Emperor demanded. My daughter, running away like a common criminal with this. This primitive. Through their connection, Marcus could feel Zarathiel's fear, but also her fierce resolve. She stood straighter and looked directly at her father. I would rather be a free criminal than a captive princess, she said clearly. Emperor Valdrix turned to Marcus, his eyes blazing with fury. And you, human, do you have any idea what you have done? The Galactic Council has declared your entire species to be untrustworthy. Earth will be blacklisted from all trade agreements. Your people will remain isolated and backward forever because of your selfishness. Marcus felt the weight of those words like a physical blow. He had potentially doomed his entire species for one person's freedom. Any reasonable being would call that madness. But through the quantum bond, he could sense Zarathiel's emotions so clearly that her happiness had become as important to him as his own survival. And more than that, he could feel her mind touching his, sharing her strength when his resolve wavered. Your Majesty, Marcus said calmly, I accept responsibility for my actions. You accept responsibility? Emperor Valdrix laughed harshly. You have no idea what responsibility means. In 1 hour, Prince Veltar will arrive with the combined fleets of 12 alien empires. If my daughter does not marry him immediately, they will destroy this planet and hunt her across the galaxy. Marcus felt Zarathiel's terror spike through their bond. But before he could respond, the communication center's main screen activated. Ambassador Kim's face appeared, looking urgent. Your Majesty, she said from the human diplomatic ship. I need to speak with Captain Chen immediately. Emperor Valdrix gestured for the guards to bring Marcus forward. Speak quickly, human. Your captain has caused enough trouble. Ambassador Kim looked directly at Marcus. Captain, I have received new orders from Earth Command. You are hereby relieved of all diplomatic duties and restored to private citizen status. Marcus stared at the screen in confusion. What does that mean? It means, came a familiar voice as Dr. Mitchell joined Ambassador Kim on screen, that you are free to make your own choices, as a private individual rather than as Earth's representative. Through the quantum bond, Marcus felt Zarathiel's sudden surge of hope, but he was still confused. I do not understand, he said. Ambassador Kim smiled sadly. When we reported your situation to Earth, something unprecedented happened. The Global Council met in emergency session for 18 hours. Every nation, every political party, every group that usually disagrees about everything, they all voted the same way. Voted for what? They voted to support your choice, Dr. Mitchell said. The message they sent was simple. A civilization that would sacrifice one person's happiness for political Advantage is not a civilization worth preserving. Emperor Valdrix stepped forward angrily. What nonsense is this? Your people are willing to destroy their future for one individual. Ambassador Kim looked directly at him. Your Majesty, you fundamentally misunderstand humanity. We do not see this as destroying our future. We see this as defining what kind of future we want to have. The communication screen suddenly split, showing multiple incoming signals. One by one, the faces of ship captains appeared, all humans, all looking determined. Captain Chun, said the first one, a woman with gray hair and kind eyes. This is Captain Rodriguez of the civilian transport ship New Horizon. My crew and I volunteer to stand with you. More faces appeared. Captain Singh of the research vessel Discovery. Reporting for duty. Captain Martinez of the cargo hauler Esperanza. Ready to help. Captain Johnson of the mining ship Ironworks. At your service. Marcus stared in shock as dozens of human ships appeared on screen. How many vessels are there? 237, Ambassador Kim said quietly. Every human ship in this sector of space. Military, civilian, commercial, research. They all came when they heard what was happening. Emperor Valdrix looked stunned. Impossible. No species mobilizes their entire fleet for one individual. Your Majesty, said Captain Rodriguez, you are thinking about this wrong. We are not mobilizing for one individual. We are mobilizing for an idea. The idea that love matters more than power, and that choosing to protect someone's happiness is never wrong, even when it seems impossible. Through the quantum bond, Marcus felt Zarathiel as amazement and growing hope. But before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the palace. Your Majesty, called a technician. Prince Veltar's fleet has arrived. 12 battleship formations, over 3,000 ships total. The main screen changed to show space around the planet. It was filled with massive alien warships, their weapons powered and ready. They formed a threatening ring around the much smaller human fleet. Emperor Valdrix turned to Marcus with grim satisfaction. Now you see the reality of power, human. Your pretty words about love and choice mean nothing against superior force. But Marcus was not looking at the alien fleet. He was looking at Zarathiel, whose quantum powers were beginning to resonate more strongly with their shared bond. Through their connection, he could sense something building, not just in her, but in both of them together. The communication screen activated again, showing Prince Veltar's cold, perfect face. Emperor Valdrix, the Zephyrian prince said, I have come to claim my bride. Surrender the princess immediately, or we will take her by force. Zarathiel stepped forward, her quantum powers making the air shimmer around her. I am not property to be claimed, Prince Veltar. One choose my own path. Prince Veltar's eyes narrowed. You choose nothing. You are a royal asset, and you will fulfill your duty. He looked at Marcus with disgust. And this human pest will be executed as an example to his species. That was when something extraordinary happened. The threat to Marcus triggered something deep in Zarathiel's quantum powers. And through their bond, those powers reached out to every human mind in the area. Suddenly, Marcus could feel the emotions of every human crew member in the fleet. Their love for their families, their willingness to sacrifice for strangers, their absolute conviction that some things were worth dying for. And through Zarathiel's amplified empathy, every human could feel the same thing from every other human. 237 ships, filled with thousands of individual people, became connected by shared purpose and mutual understanding. This is Captain Rodriguez to all human vessels, came the voice over the communication system. We stand together. No one goes home until everyone goes home. Agreed, responded Captain Singh. Our children will be proud of what we do today. For Marcus and Zara, added Captain Martinez. for the right to choose love over politics. Prince Veltar watched in confusion as the human ships moved into formation, not a military formation designed for attack, but a protective circle around the planet, each ship ready to sacrifice itself to protect the others. "What are they doing?" he demanded. "They cannot possibly fight our combined fleets." "They are not fighting," Zarathiel said, her voice filled with wonder as she felt the incredible network of human emotions through their quantum bond. They are choosing. They are choosing to stand together for something they believe in, even though they know they might die. Through Marcus, she could sense what this meant to the human crews. These were not soldiers following orders. They were teachers, engineers, farmers, artists, parents, and children who had volunteered to travel across the galaxy simply because they believed that protecting someone's right to choose love was worth any sacrifice. Emperor Valdric stared at the tactical displays in shock. They know they will be destroyed. Why do they not retreat? Marcus looked at him with pity. "Your Majesty, you have spent so long thinking about political advantage that you have forgotten what real strength looks like. These people are not here because they think they can win. They are here because they know that some things are more important than winning." Prince Veltar's voice crackled over the communication system. "Last warning, humans. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." The response came from every human ship at once. Thousands of voices speaking in unison. "We choose to stay." As Prince Veltar prepared to give the order to attack, something stopped him. Through Zarathiel's quantum powers, amplified by her bond with Marcus and connected to every human mind in the fleet, a wave of pure emotion washed over every ship in space. For the first time in their lives, the alien crews felt what humans felt, the willingness to sacrifice everything for someone else's happiness. The strength that came from choosing love over power. The absolute conviction that some things were worth more than life itself. One by one, alien ships began powering down their weapons. Crews who had never experienced genuine selflessness were overwhelmed by the intensity of human compassion. Prince Veltar screamed orders, but his own fleet was no longer responding. Even his own crew was staring at their instruments in wonder, trying to understand what they had just experienced.